Hey class. All right, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about volume of different uh, three-dimensional shapes that we have. So we're going to talk about five of them. We've got a prism, a cylinder, a pyramid, a cone, and a sphere. All right, they all look like this. This is a prism. It has any kind of geometric shape as the base, and then it just kind of projects itself up as the height. It can be a triangle base, it can be a rectangle, it could be a square, it could be a hexagon, pentagon, whatever kind of shape you can think of, that can be the base. And then what we want to do is our volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. So you're going to find whatever the shape of the base is first. You're going to multiply by the height as we go up or go back or however you want to look at it. But it's always going to be your kind of unique shape. Like if it was a pentagon, that's going to be the shape of your base. If it's a rectangle, that's the shape of your base. If it's a triangle, that's the shape of your base. You want to find that area first and then multiply by the height. As for a cylinder, cylinder kind of works the same way as a prism. That's the way I think of it. So it's a circle multiplied by the height. And then the formula for a circle is pi r squared. So it's kind of the same formula as this one. We just make it special because we want to remember that pi r squared is the area of a circle. All right, next up we talk about pyramids. Pyramids are just like prisms except for they come to a point. So they can have a triangle base, square base, rectangle base, any kind of shape, a pentagon, hexagon. It can have any of those bases. What we want to do is find that shape first, find the area of it. Remember that uppercase B is the area of the base. Multiply by the height, and then we're going to take a third of it. So you can either multiply by a third, or you can divide by 3. So that would be a pyramid. Cones work the same way. It's just like a cylinder, except for it comes to a point. So that means we're going to use this 1/3. So that's the easy way to remember it. All of these are kind of related to the prism. Prism, cylinder, that area of the base is a circle. The only difference is pyramids and cones, if they come to a point, you're going to multiply by a third. Otherwise, you just leave it the same and you don't multiply by a third. The sphere is the only weird one. It is going to be 4/3 times pi radius cubed. So there's no real easy way to remember that one. Up here you can kind of just remember this and then remember the 1/3 rule and you should be fine. So let's do a few examples. All right, example 1, this is a prism. It's got a rectangular base. So I want to find the area of the base, so I'm just going to do 20 times 7, that's that base. It can be the bottom, it can be the side, whatever you want it to be, and then you multiply by the height. So the height goes, so in my case, I'm using this bottom piece, I'm going up. You could find the area of this rectangle, which is 7 times 8, multiplied by 20. It doesn't really matter because multiplication is commutative, so it all works the same for a rectangular prism. All right, so we multiply all this together, you get 1,120 inches cubed as your volume for that. Now a triangular prism works a little bit different. We got to find the area of that triangle. So I'm going to do, this is a right triangle, so my legs help me out with my area. So I know that I'm going to do, remember a triangle is just like a rectangle, but it's half of it. So I'm going to take half times my leg 1 times my leg 2, or my base times my height. But whenever you say that, it gets kind of weird because if you say height with the volume of a triangular pyramid, we also talk about that being the height. So I like calling this the length and the width. So you'll probably hear me talk about that the most. All right, so we're doing 1/2 times 3 times 4. That's going to be my area of my triangle. And I'm going to multiply it by my height, which is 8. Simplify all that stuff. I get 48 meters cubed is my volume of that triangular prism. All right, here we got a cylinder. Now remember your formula is pi r squared times the height, but this gives us the diameter. So remember the radius is half of the diameter. So I'm going to cut this in half, that's where I got my 5. I'm going to square it, make sure you follow your order of operations, square first, then you multiply. So I can get 20 times pi. I like leaving it in terms of pi, but if you use 3.14 as your pi, you can multiply it out and you get 628 cubic miles. And one thing about these unit of measures is they're always going to be raised to the 3rd power because they're in 3 dimensions. So you can kind of think of that. Or you can think of it as, remember this is an area, that's square miles. So if I take square miles and then multiply by another dimension, that's going to make it a third dimension instead of just 2 dimensions. Example 4, this is a pyramid. Remember, it comes to a point. A rectangle is our base, so if the shape of the base is a rectangle, I'm going to find the area of that rectangle, which is length times the width. So I'm doing 4 times 5, then I'll multiply by the height, but then don't forget to multiply it by a third because it comes to a point. And so we get 40 meters cubed for that pyramid. All right, we got 2 more shapes to get through. We got a cone. Remember, that's a circle. That's got a circle base, so I want to find the area of that circle. Then, so I'm doing 10 squared because that gives me my radius. If it gave you the diameter, we just have to cut it in half. Multiply by the height, multiply by pi, multiply by 1/3. Don't forget about the 1/3. And then you can simplify it here as either 1,000 pi, or you can leave it, if you multiply by pi 3.14, you can have 3,140 cubic centimeters. All right, and then the last one, this one's the one where you just have to memorize 4/3 pi r cubed. Remember, it's giving you the diameter here, but your formula needs the radius, so I plug it into the radius. 10 and for r times pi times 4/3, you get 133. You could do the 0.33 repeating times pi, or if you multiplied that out, I did this times 3.14. This is going to be close to your answer, but because of rounding and other stuff, you may not have that exact answer, but that's okay. All right, and that is volume of prisms, cylinders, cones, pyramids, and spheres.